everyone, it's Alyce-Kay from Threshold of Hanani again, and I'm sorry about the sound of me pulling up here, but I haven't quite figured out this whole video thing. So bear with me as I learn. Anyway, and if somebody wants to come visit me in East Tennessee and teach me how to do this, boy, that would be awesome. Okay, so anyway, I showed you first how I was selecting the fabric for this cover. This is part 2, by the way, of the cover. And I forgot to do something for a title. So I went and typed this on my computer and, fooled with it until it was the right size and everything. And then I tore it out. I didn't use the ruler for this. I just tore it out. I started distressing it, but decided that I would actually show you how I do this, and I can talk to you while I'm doing this. So what we're going to be doing with this journal is it's going to have all kinds of stuff in it. We're going to have maps in it. We're going to have word studies. We're going to have, if you want to, put hymns in it that go along with Abraham's life or other poems that we find. Just all kinds of stuff that will help you learn about Abraham and learn about the principles from his life. And yeah, and you're going to journal in it about what God shows you and what difference it makes in your life. This isn't working as well as it usually does because I'm on camera, of course. I usually just leave that open. Okay, so I'm going like along the edge, but then sometimes I kind of go on top of it like this. Okay, I'm not at all a pro at this. I just started doing junk journals in like the end of December, beginning of January, I think. And I'm completely obsessed. Okay, so I need something hard. I guess I can use my other phone. Okay, so I'm going to now take the ink and just kind of smear some of it on here. This is Tim Holtz's Distressing Ink in Vintage Photo that I showed you before, and I'll link it again. I just want to give it kind of that color, and I don't want it to be all perfect. I want it to look like worn and like it's really old, kind of. Back in the day, when I was in high school and I did stuff like this, I used to actually burn the edges of papers. And I don't have to do that anymore. That's kind of cool. It was fun though. It was really fun. So anyway, so that's all ready. So what I've got is I've got my fabric, this fabric, and I've got my title. Abraham, Man of Faith is what I'm calling it. If you want to call it that, you can. You can call it something else if you want, or just not even have a title. You don't have to have a title. I've got my picture of Abraham. I almost used a picture of my husband because my husband is 78 years old and Abraham was 75 when we pick him up in the Bible. And my husband's like really handsome, but this guy just really looked Middle Eastern and my husband doesn't. His nose is too thin. I have my Bible page, which, I already explained about why it's okay for me to use that. And I have my map of Canaan, which you can't, it's too small to see details on, but that's okay because this is just for the cover. Now this is not quite the size of the cover. This is the size of the pages that I'm going to have inside. It's copy paper that I've coffee dyed. The reason that it has lines on it is because I laid it on a cookie cooling rack when I put it in the oven, and not one that was coated, one that was just metal. And I pressed it down on that so it would give me these lines for like writing and stuff. And I've just folded it in half so that I have an idea of the size of the pages and everything. Okay, the cover is going to be a little bit bigger than that, but this can, so I can just make sure everything is going to fit on here, and it's maybe not because it's so big. Oh wow. Okay, so I may have to fiddle with this a little bit and figure out what I'm exactly doing. There's, a certain portion of this Bible chapter that I want to show up, so I want to make sure that that's showing. And then I've got the map, I've got my title. Wow, that doesn't fit very well. Okay, well, we'll play around with it. We're not going to do that right now anyway, so that's okay. Okay, so I've got all these things. I'm going to set those aside, and those will probably be in another video because I may have to make them smaller or something. Good thing I have this, right? Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to cut my manila file folder to size. And so I'm going to set aside the fabric for now and set everything else aside. And I'm going to get out my paper cutter. And this may shake the table. I'm really sorry if it does. I don't know how to keep it from doing that. And it's definitely going to make noise. Let me just check and make sure the camera is still running. Yes, it is. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit bigger than 8.5 by 11. All right, 8.5 by 11 is the size of our paper, and we want the edges of the cover to stick out a little bit. I could actually do it like this, and that would actually probably make it easier, wouldn't it? I wouldn't have the scoring. I like to have the scoring, but I can just do that with a knife. And I'm sorry about the motorcycle noises, you guys. I live on a somewhat busy street right across the street from the hospital, so we get noises and we get sirens. You know what? I'm going to do that. Okay, so instead of cutting it, I'm going to just tear it right here on the score line. Can you see where it's scored? I'm just going to go ahead and tear it, because that way you guys don't have to put up with more cutting than necessary. If it'll tear, it might not. We'll see. Okay, that's working. Probably should have used my ruler, but okay, that's great. Okay, so that's going to be big enough. That's so funny. I don't usually do that. I'm learning, you guys, and you're learning along with me, or maybe you're smarter than me. All right, so that leaves a little bit of room, and we want, you know, this much space on both sides, because when it's thick, which it's going to be, not just the pages that you put in, but all the stuff you're going to add to it, it's going to be thick, so the pages will start like sticking out farther and everything. So we're not going to have lace, so I don't need to worry about that. Okay, so the only thing I want to cut off then is the top. So I'm trying to get this. I know that the whole thing isn't in the camera, so I'm trying to get it to where you can at least see it. Okay, so I think I'm just going to cut like right across the top here and just cut off the tab. That's a lot easier than any of the journals I've ever done, which I could have made this easy, but I wasn't that smart. All right, I'm just chopping that off. I need to chop off just a tiny bit more. I may have to trim it with my scissors. It doesn't really matter, actually, because I'm going to cover this with fabric, so it doesn't matter if it's perfect. Okay, so this gets put away. Sorry about the noise. And these go, the little piece, this piece right here, I'm going to keep in. I have a little bucket of scraps. I try not to waste things, and I'll show you sometime. It's too far for me to reach what I do with scraps. Okay, so this is like really cool. So I'm going to fold it in half, because once it's inside the fabric, it won't be as easy to fold. Fold it in half. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, and I'm going to take my ruler just to make it fold just a little tiny bit better, like that. There we go. That's good. Okay, now with the fabric around it, it's going to make it a little softer and a little bit more pliable. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so now the next thing that I want to do is I want to cut out my fabric. And I said that I was going to just use that one fabric on both the inside and outside, but I'm thinking about using this on the inside. What do you think? Because I like this. Too busy? I don't know. Okay, so we'll figure it out. I was going to cut them both out at once, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm kind of hoping for an area for the front. Oh, that's good right there. I like that. I wanted something that doesn't have so much of the flower on it. I just want that so I can put down my pictures, which, like I said, are probably going to have to be smaller in order to fit. That's not how I'm going to arrange them, but just to get an idea for myself here. Something like that would be good. I might just take out the map, actually, because I've got 3 things here and I'm kind of going for 3. Okay, so something like that is what I'm thinking. Okay, so that's just like the perfect place right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this opened up as my pattern of what I'm going to cut. I hate cutting in the middle of fabric. I really, really prefer to use the edges. But, oh wait, here we go. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. Yes, that will work. Okay. So at least I don't have to cut all the way. It's still going to be in somewhat, but okay. So I'm sorry about, pardon all my mutterings and figuring things out, but I'm showing you the process, so you're going to kind of have to put up with that. Okay, I thought that I had a piece here that was, okay, that's going to be fine. All right, and this over here. Okay, so I'm going to use this piece of cardstock, the manila file folder, as my pattern, basically. And so I want to lay this out as flat as possible. It's kind of wrinkly, and I don't care about that. That's totally fine. But I want it to be as flat as possible. And I'm going to cut all the way up to the edge here. You're not going to be able to see that, I don't think, because it doesn't all show on the screen. I don't have a very big area to work in for the camera, so sorry. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the comments. I'm just doing the best I can. Okay, so I have my fabric scissors that are for fabric only, and you know how that is.